Something tells me you're going to do great things here, Herr Starr.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Guys, we are more than halfway through Preacher Season 2, but don't worry, we'll be here all season long. You can find me on Twitter at RyanEricP. Please come say hi. And also, be sure to subscribe to GameSpot Universe. We do a whole lot more than just Preacher, like Twin Peaks, Game of Thrones, and Rick and Morty. Let's first jump into the plot of episode 7, which is titled Pig, and it starts in Vietnam with, well, a pig. And a seemingly supernatural event, and we're finally reintroduced to the white suit wearing Herr Starr, who arrives in Vietnam in a white Mercedes truck. That's where all the Atlanta Falcons Super Bowl championship gear went. So crowds have formed to witness a miracle at hand, and what is it exactly? The miracle is seeing a pig fly. Literally. This dude can't wait to upload these photos to Instagram, but Herr Starr isn't so pleased. Cut to New Orleans, where it's a regular old early morning in the French Quarter. The drunk are carted off to sleep off their hangovers, and the dead, well, thankfully there aren't any dead. Yet. Jesse pops out of the 187th Jazz Club in New Orleans, if you're keeping track. He's clearly been a busy man drinking up all the Ratwater whiskey in the French Quarter, and he's also having doubts about his search for God. Meanwhile, Denis is having trouble breathing, Tulip still doesn't seem the same after her run-in with the Saint of Killers, and Cassidy wants to take a break and just have some fun. So Team Preacher heads to the Hurt Locker. The Hurt Locker is a spot where you can bet on who can take a bullet to the chest. It's a perfect spot for Team Preacher because who better than Cassidy to step in front of a gun? So Jesse, Tulip, and Cassidy pull a scam, but it was more than just fun and games here. We knew that Team Preacher needed to let off some steam and that Cassidy would survive the gunshot, but the most important moment happened between Cassidy and Tulip.
Just hold your breath, and I love you.
I love you too.
Now that kiss may have been harmless to Tulip, but Cassidy wasn't acting at all when he said that he loved her. Also, Jesse was watching the entire thing and he brought it up to Tulip a few moments later. Obviously, we're headed for more drama between these three like we saw in the comic books as the love triangle between Jesse, Tulip, and Cassidy heats up.
I am having fun.
Yeah, that kiss with Cass looked pretty fun. Very convincing.
Yeah.
After Jesse and Tulip go home, we get an interesting convo between Cassidy and Denis. Well, actually, Cassidy doesn't understand a lick of French, but luckily a passed out French professor wakes up to assist in translation. We learn that Denis is dying and that he hates Cassidy and wants to be turned into a vampire. But Cassidy doesn't want any part of this. We then get some backstory on Herr Starr and how he joined the Grail. Yes, we find out that he's a sociopath, a sexual freak with some alternative fighting skills, and a master of seduction with a high tolerance for pain. He also knows exactly how to eliminate all competition. Oh, and he has some amazing one-liners.
What if I told you that our organization feels exactly the same way you do?
Like a 10-inch dick. I'd need to see it to believe it.
He's the perfect man for the job of heading the Grail's Samson unit, which handles all false prophets. So if there are any contenders to Christ's throne, it's the Grail's job to get rid of them. In case you're wondering, that's even included Abraham Lincoln. Yes, the Grail killed Abraham Lincoln. So after learning the ropes of the new gig, Starr is immediately self-promoted by pushing his boss off the building. Yep, he's a real go-getter. Back in New Orleans, Jesse befriends the doomsday preacher that he saw on the street earlier. They share a beer together when discussing the end of the world. Notice how these two are framed in this shot, one cast in light and the other in shadow. So how does one know when the apocalypse is near?
And there has been an uptick ever since Tom Cruise exploded, no question. The Cubs winning. Trump. This flying pig, that's real wrath of God stuff, right?
But the doomsday preacher is more concerned that the apocalypse is used as a distraction, because people are really scared of themselves. This seems like the perfect time for Jesse to take a long, hard look in the mirror and listen to his advice. Jesse is seriously concerned about the 1% of his soul that he sold, and he's in need of some enlightenment. As we mentioned last week, even selling a fraction of your soul is some serious business and gonna have major consequences down the road. Back in Vietnam, we find out that Herr Starr killed the flying pig and the entire village. I forgot to mention to you earlier that he doesn't really care about collateral damage. We then end on Starr's next target, Jesse Custer, who's watching the news report on the TV, and it sounds eerily similar to Stephen Hawking. Who knew he too was working for the Grail?
Are you a scientist? No. Well, then, shut up.
So that's where episode 7 ends, but I still have a few more observations to share with you guys, but beware, comic book spoilers ahead. First off, clearly Tulip has been living in her own personal hell since the run-in with the Saint. She's reliving the same nightmare over and over and over again, of the Saint of Killers shooting her. Remember in the comics, the Saint's guns were literally made from the Angel of Death's sword, so they are straight up evil. Whoever holds the guns can see the souls of the Saint's victims. That's a whole lot of people. I like the idea that this was adapted to any touch from the Saint himself instead of his guns. That would explain the horrors that Tulip is dealing with ever since he grabbed her. Her only solution to the problem is by going back to the Hurt Locker and taking countless bullets to the chest in hopes to desensitize her reaction to the visions. Speaking of Tulip, maybe the whole act at the Hurt Locker wasn't an act after all. Maybe she does have feelings for Cassidy after realizing that he has always been there for her and that he's genuine with his intentions. Bottom line, there's a whole lot more drama ahead for these three. And even more reasons for drama, Jesse straight up lied to Tulip about the Saint of Killers. He could have just told her that he was chilling at the bottom of a lake. She thinks he's in hell, and she definitely will not be happy when he returns, and all of their lives could also be in danger. I want to go on the record and say that Denis will get his wish. Cassidy's mind might have been changed after his overnight stay at the morgue, but even if he decides not to turn Denis, the old man might be able to get another vampire's help. I'm literally thinking of any excuse to give us Sicarius. From what we know in the books, let's just say Jesus Christ's lineage isn't doing too well. That's what inbreeding will do. It will be extremely interesting to see if and how they adapt this storyline for the TV show. And finally, that brings us to Herr Starr, who tracked down Jesse for different reasons in the books. He actually wanted to replace the inept ancestor of Christ with the all-powerful Jesse Custer. But here in the TV show, it looks like he's just trying to eliminate him completely as he would with any other false prophet.
What are you looking for?
Serial numbers on a gun.
So this is worth all the risk, huh?
Best way to know your target is through concealed intimacy. It's in the handbook.
Who doesn't belong in hell? Whoever you are,
We'll find you.
Oh, wow.